Hey everybody, Tag Life Done Free. Hey, today I thought I'd put out another Starve the Beast video, and today I'm just going to kind of go on a rant on consumerism and how the game's rigged against us. And if you're interested in any of that, come on, let's check it out. Society today is filled with emotional unrest. Tyrannical leaders have preyed upon mankind for all of time. In their lust for power, they have developed a sophisticated method for controlling your mind and your body. The degree of human enslavement seems to be the only difference between generations. These leaders work very hard to convince you that you are merely a victim and that you have no ability to change these things because of the power and control wielded by our leaders. Even the most ruthless and tyrannical leaders can only rule for a period of time without the support of the people. These so-called leaders are vastly outnumbered by those they rule. These systems of enslavement rely on the never-ending supply of resources and manpower. Imagine what would happen if 20 million people decided that they would withdraw all their money from the bank. Imagine further if these people decided to stay home and not go to work. If we stopped surrendering our wealth and our prosperity, the system of infinite growth and regulation would come to a screeching halt. Understand that mass submission is voluntary and based upon popular consent. I'm going to say this again. Understand that mass submission is voluntary and based on popular consent. There is no need to fight these tyrants. There is no need to protest or to vote for the succession of the political tyrant. A single tyrant is automatically defeated if you just simply remove your consent. We don't need to take anything from them. We just have to stop giving them our production and resources. So you have to understand that if you and I allow our enslavement by participating in the servitude. You see, as long as we choose to be a consumer instead of a producer, we are submitting to their rule. Why is it that people in all of history act against their own best interests? Why do people consent to being ruled? See, man was born with the instinct to be free. This need for self-rule, when threatened, was once met with great force, has now been bred out of all of us over many, many generations. This need for liberty has now been replaced with laziness and a lack of empathy. You know, I've argued many times on this channel that if you go to Walmart or the mall or any of them, you will experience the zombie apocalypse in full swing. We have become habituated to the social and political conditions that the tyrants need to control us. Those people who were born into state slavery now know very little about liberty. Servitude has become accepted. People now spend most of their life observing everyone around them complying with the will of the state. Under constraint or by force, we obey without regret and perform willingly what our parents and grandparents has done. Men and women born under the thumb then take care of and given the status symbol of victim will not only denounce freedom, but will go out of their way to remove it from everybody else. Servitude is the only existence most people alive today even recognize. See, being a slave has become a custom. Now, servitude being a custom is not the whole story, however. You know, like much as Rome used the gladiators, we today are fed with an endless supply of irrelevant information. I mean, what percentage of the information you learned in high school or college do you even find useful today? Do you believe that you're hearing the truth from the mainstream media? Do any of you know the truth of what's going on in the economy, Ukraine or China? I think not. The pharmaceutical industry numbs us to everything we should care about. If we start early enough, the partnership between big pharma and the public education system can remove a child's need to explore and discover. Instead of building the perfect soldier or consumer for the system requiring constant growth, our political system is designed to distract you from your servitude by an engineered consent of an election. If you look back at history, you will find many tyrants who could extract the calls, long live the king, by simply giving out a little bread and cheese. Never mind that the resources used to create these were stolen from the very people receiving their small portion of their own productivity. I mean, how can we be so stupid? These rulers, both in history and today, could not give you anything without first taking it from someone. This is called the bread circus, and you're the main act. By getting the churches and religious scholars to endorse this process, we will become gods, they say. I mean, who would question it, right? What if we build grand buildings like the White House or the halls of Congress? This would further symbolize our power and authority. I wonder why churches are often the biggest building in towns. I digress. Voluntary slavery to a political class has been the norm for some time. It is inevitable that your kids will volunteer their production and freedom to the powers that be, right? There's always been those who plan to rule and control us, but it is also true that there has always been those people who instinctively rebel against being told what to do. These rare and beautiful people spend their time educating themselves to be self-thinkers. These awakeners expose the tyrannical and deceptive nature of political rule. These efforts are done because they realize that when the slaves become aware of the game, the voluntary servitude will come to a screeching halt. All we must do is make the decision to be free. There is no need to fight back. There is no need to complain. It's just a waste of energy. Just stop supporting it. So, how do we support it? Well, unfortunately, we support it with almost every action we take today. We have become consumers, and all we do is consume. Entertainment by itself has a sedative effect, right? I mean, it's funny. You've got the woke community claims to be aware of everything that's going on, and yet they're the most asleep culture ever. I mean, it's even in the name, right? It's just propaganda, much like the Patriot Act. The woke culture claims to care about equality, but it's just propaganda. Allow me to explain. For years, there have been a war going on for the resources of people, our money, our production, right? Because money, all it does is represent your production, right? So they show us what the perfect male or the female is, and then they bombard us with the things that make us perfect. Look at how the perfect man is being portrayed today. I did a Google search, and the perfect man seems to be trendy and hip. He's wearing a suit. He's holding the latest iPhone. He has gym muscles and a college degree. See, this version of man comes with a gym membership, supplements, the latest fashion and technology, right? You know what I don't see? The guy who creates and fixes things. I don't see the calluses or the sweat. I don't see a picture of a man fishing with his kids, and in fact, I don't see kids at all. So when I started looking at the modern version of the perfect woman, I see a thin, tall, and curvy sex symbol. I see hair dye and cosmetics. I see the latest fashion. I see plastic surgery and a big house. Let's certainly not forget the latest technology. I also don't see family, service, or commitment. My point is that they show you what it is to be perfect or woke, and then they market to you all of the things that you will need, right? Woke? Really? This is equality? You got to be kidding me. All we have done is replace morals, values, and freedom with Gap, Gucci, and Apple. You were so concerned about keeping up, you willingly gave up your sovereignty. How sad. And it's getting worse. Shopping's never been easier. Now with the click of a button, we have the freedom to shop for anything, anywhere, any place, anytime. Consume, consume, consume. So why do we keep falling for it? Well, see, if you look at history, people with the most stuff were most likely to survive, right? Long time ago. They gathered a lot of food and energy for the winter. They collected building materials for shelter. So today we're gathering supplies, right? So not so we can survive, but so that we can be equal. In 2020, we spent $300 billion on jewelry, watches, luggage, books, and phones, 3 times as much as we spent in the year 2000, even though our population only grew by 13%. Our spending on cosmetics like lotions and makeup also doubled over that time. So we're spending 20% more on clothes than we did in the year 2000, and the average American buys 66 garments every single year. The average square footage of a house in the USA rose by 23% over the last 2 decades, but interestingly enough, the average birth rate is down, and the number of storage facilities doubled. The average American throws away 81 pounds of clothes and textiles each year, which is 5 times more than it was in 1980. We collectively threw away 32 million tons of plastics in 2020, and only 9% of those were recycled. Big ticket items like appliances are only designed today to last 3 or 4 years. Consume, consume, consume. In 20 years, the global middle class is expected to grow by 3 billion people, and we're on track to double the material resources we need by 2060. Imagine if 20 million people agreed to buy nothing except those essential needs for the next year. Imagine that instead of the latest iPhones, just 20 million people decided to get rid of their contract and purchase a phone, that was 2 or 3 models old, unlocked, go month to month, no more financing, no more new. Imagine what would happen. Consumerism allows us to survive on this frequent dopamine rush that allows us to never strive for anything greater than the latest shoes. They have traded you Apple, Walmart, and Amazon for your freedom, and it's a small price to pay for the protection from terrorism. But that's for another video. So why do so many people hide behind the scenes and not stand up for their freedom? Those people will be the very ones complaining when it's all gone. Why didn't anybody do anything about this? Well, my question is, why didn't you? You can choose a different path. You can choose not to be a consumer. You can take your money and you can apply it to those things that make you freer. You can apply it to community, to parallel economies. You can even go further and create a barter system. Either way, vote with your dollar. The days are short. This is what I'm doing, but at the end of the day.